Hi, you guys. My name is Faye, and I desperately need a vacation, and I think you do too. So let's distract ourselves with some reality TV nonsense. First of all, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad to be back. I missed you guys. I miss doing this. I know it's the same excuse every time, but honestly, there's like a lot going on. Unfortunately, right now, this is not my job. So, you know how life is. Things come up and you have to deal with them. So, anyway, I'm glad to be back. Today, we'll be talking about the Real Housewives of Orange County. 3 episodes. Yes, we can do it, ladies and gentlemen. Episodes 5, 6, and 7. Let's get into it. We're starting off episode 5 with Gina's housewarming party. First of all, I have to say the food looks really good. There's crawfish jambalaya, there are crab legs. Like, honestly, well done, Gina. Gina takes everyone on a house tour. It looks really nice, good for her. And say whatever you want to say about Gina, and you know I don't go up for her, but she has indeed come a long way from the casita, so I'm happy for her. Gina ends up telling Jen about the former fatty photo of her that Tamra has been showing around to everyone. Jen, of course, is appalled. She's disgusted. Then we have Emily in her confessional joking about how she doesn't care about fatty photos. In fact, she posts her own fatty photos. Mind you, this is the same lady who made a whole season arc out of being upset with Heather for giving her an oversized blazer and asking her to bring jeans to the fashion show. Like, honestly, like, no one believes that Emily. Just like her food shtick, this whole thing is just not landing. Jen questions Heather about the photo because obviously Heather was the one who Tamra showed the photo to first. Heather is downplaying the whole thing. She's even defending Tamra. And Jen is like, wrong road. Shout out to Portia Williams. Jen believes that Heather is doing all this defending of Tamra because she's scared of her. And like I said in my earlier recap, I totally agree. Then we also get Emily trying to push Gretchen to reconcile with Tamra. And at the end of the housewarming, Gina announces the first cast trip of the season. They're going to New Orleans. I'm super excited. I've always wanted to go there, so I'm happy to see the city, even if it's only through a screen. Tamra, however, gets upset. She leaves the group quietly, and we later find out that she's really sad because the last time she went to New Orleans is with Teddy, her sick friend. In the next scene, we see Emily and Shane in their home. Emily is bringing up her only storyline, namely her son again, and talking about his issues. And honestly, even Shane looks annoyed at this point, so we're just gonna move right on. We catch Jen and Ryan at the gym. They're trying to get Beach ready for their wedding. And Ryan brings up a situation that has been bothering him a lot, which is the whole thing with Jen's ex. So we already know that all of Jen's children live in the home with her and Ryan. But what we didn't know was that Jen's ex has not paid 1 cent towards the lump sum that she was awarded in the divorce settlement. And nor is he paying any type of child or spousal support. So Ryan, you know, admittedly is upset about that, and the fact that he's the one who's having to invest more money into lawyers to handle this situation legally. And, you know, he kind of questions Jen about that, but Jen has no idea why her ex-husband is not paying. In her confessional, Jen shares that she's really afraid that this situation is going to be too much for Ryan at some point and it will drive them apart. And she literally tells him that she's so grateful to him that he even brought that up because she does not want another failed marriage. Ryan, however, reassures her immediately, and I do have to say, even though I initially wasn't the biggest fan of their relationship, and I don't like his style, let's just say that, I find it to be a bit questionable, but it really seems like they have a loving relationship, and good for them. In the next scene, Gina is visiting Shannon in her home, and Gina brought over some pizza with her. And for some reason, Gina is super impressed that Shannon is serving the pizza on actual dishes, like plates, rather than paper plates. I'm like, girl, I just sat here and said how you've grown so much. Come on. This is Housewives. We're not doing paper plates. Gina then brings up the former fatty photo, and mind you, I'm not calling it that. This is what it's being called in the group, so we're just using that term. She brings up the photo to Shannon and questions how much Tamra can actually have grown. And I completely agree with her. That is not a healed person. And that's just very evil, like I said in my last recap. Shannon then adds that Tamra is someone who can dish it out constantly, but can never take anything. And I wholeheartedly agree. Like, she is like the most disrespectful, cruel, nasty, vile, sensitive person I have ever seen on TV, I think. Or one of them, shall we say. Gina then shares something that's really sad but very interesting. Apparently, her and Travis have not seen his son that he shares with his ex for over 3 weeks. And this woman, his mother, is not sending him to school. Like, can you believe that? Like, that's crazy that that's legal, but then I guess she can just claim that he's sick or that she's homeschooling or whatever. But like, yeah, it's crazy. Poor child. And Gina feels like it's a punishment for both of them moving in together again, because remember, the ex cannot let go of Travis. Shannon can relate to this, and she tells Gina that her ex-husband literally told their daughters that the best way to hurt Shannon is to take things away from them. Pause. Like, how can the daughters even have relationships with him? Like, they're of a certain age, and even when they got divorced, yes, the twins were a bit on the younger side, but still, they were old enough to know what's going on. And if my father ever said something like that to me, that would be it. Like, there would be no relationship, because like, how malicious and just cruel are you? Just, gross. That man is gross. Shannon then goes on to ask Gina if things were different if her and Travis got married. I thought that was a weird question, because if the ex can't even handle them moving in together, how would she handle them being married? Like, that makes no sense to me. But Gina is pretty much like, she just doesn't know if the ex will ever be able to let Travis go. And she also doesn't know if she can handle that emotional burden for the rest of her life. Shannon then brings up children, and Gina's like, immediately no, like, ew. Like, she actually goes, ew, no. So next, everybody gets ready to go on the group trip to New Orleans. We see the ladies checking in at the airport. We see Shannon and Jen shopping at the airport. Shannon is looking for Spanx, and she tells Jen that she wears Spanx every single day of her life. I'm like, wow. And I know this was storyline before in one of the seasons when Shannon was opening up about her weight gain and her issues with weight or whatever. And I don't know, like, and I don't want to presume to know how she feels about her body right now, but I would just hope that she can get to a point where she feels comfortable enough to just feel okay in her skin without having to wear Spanx every single day, if that makes sense. Because it just always gave she's ashamed of her body and she's ashamed of herself, when she was discussing that in the earlier seasons. And I just want her to love herself and her body, because it's been with her throughout her life. But so much for that. Anyway, Nola looks so fun, and honestly, I think I've said this like 3 times at this point. Maybe I'll cut it out. I just really want to go there. So Gretchen, Emily, Gina, and Katie arrive in the city first, and they go on a boat ride on the Mississippi River. However, none of them know they're on the Mississippi River. It's literally hilarious. You have Katie scrolling through her phone, trying to look it up. They're asking locals if this is even a river. I'm like, girls, I mean, come on. Like, I am not the best at geography by any means, but like, that when you go to a city, what the major river is, in Paris, it's the Seine. In New York, it's the Hudson. In Vienna, it's the Donau. Like, stuff like that. Anyway, Emily brings up something interesting. She says that Jen told her that Shannon told her not to roll on her with Tamra, which she took to mean that Shannon does not want Jen, I'm sorry, these are so many names. Shannon does not want Jen to reconcile with Tamra because she doesn't want to be the only one, which does sound a lot like Shannon, and we'll get into that later. Emily and Gina once again bring up Gretchen forgiving Katie. Like, they are so far up Tamra's behind. I do not know, like, is she paying them? Maybe she's paying them, because like, why are they campaigning for her? Are we running for president? Like, what is this? I don't know what's happening. Gretchen says she's open to it, but She feels like Tamra would have to do her part in, accepting responsibility and owning up to her wrongs. And she also says in her confessional that there's a difference between forgiving people who have hurt and harmed you and reconciling with them. Now, in the next scene, everyone has finally arrived. They go out to dinner. And when I tell you, it looks so good, like my mouth was watering. They're trying shrimp and grits, which is a local delicacy. And also, Gina is brave and wants to try the turtle soup. Now, I was annoyed at Emily and I think it was Tamra. Yeah, they were acting super disgusted. Honestly, it was giving Karens that have never been anywhere. Like, girl, you're in a new city, you're in a new place, food is a big part of the culture. Just try the food or don't. But if you don't want to try it and you're not open or adventurous, then don't shame other people for wanting to try it. And I really don't see much of a difference in eating turtles, clams, oysters, snails. Like, it's all the same thing, Anyway, Jen ends up sharing that Ryan confronted her ex. His name is Will, I believe. And he actually straight up asked him why he's not paying his child support, like what is going on. And apparently Will claimed that he was doing his best by paying the children's car insurances and by co-signing the loan for his son's college. Jen is really afraid of retaliation. She says she's sure that he's going to block her again and refuse to communicate via text, which, that is really sad. I mean, how can you be so spiteful? And honestly, she said that Will is so private. And to me, it sounded like Will was offended that Ryan dared question him about his finances. But sir, how can you be so prideful and so private, but then you have no shame about letting another man take care of your children? Like, you can't be that proud, sir. If you were, you would get a job and pay for your kids. Gina shares that she and Travis still have not seen his son. It's been a month now. He has also not been to school. And to top it off, the ex is actually now contacting Gina's son and calling her ex-husband. And I don't know what's going on with her. Like, she hasn't been on the show, obviously, but that seems like deranged behavior. And I don't know, man. They might have to get a restraining order. I don't know if that's possible. Anyway, I don't know why the ex feels it's appropriate to contact Gina's ex-husband, and especially to contact her minor child. Like, that blows my mind. Like, what was she even calling him about? Emily chimes in, and for once it's actually warranted. She tells Gina that Travis needs to be in front of a judge ASAP. And I do have to admit, I have no idea why he's not in front of a judge. Like, is it a financial thing or is he just lazy? Because he seems like such a sluggish, lazy person. I am so sorry, but that would not go on in my home. Not my son. The food comes out. It looks absolutely amazing. I wanted to jump through that screen. Like, I was seriously getting hungry. The ladies start asking Shannon about her ideal man again. I don't know why they want to keep pushing romantic companionship on Shannon. The lady says she's happy. Like, let's give it a rest. It was strange though, because she mentioned the men that she had met on that dating show or whatever, and she says that they don't want to be intimate with her. And I thought that was such an odd way to phrase that. Are you saying that you want to be in a romantic relationship with them, but they don't want to be with you? Like, what are we saying? The ladies start discussing their favorite positions in bed, and it's really fun until someone mentions intimate videos and whether they've done it or not, and Katie says that she has, and Shannon has to totally ruin the mood by saying something like, yeah, of course you would, Katie, that's your thing to record. When I tell you, she really just soured the entire mood for me, and it felt especially mean and cruel because Katie was not bothering Shannon. Like, during this entire trip, like, she's been respecting her and giving her space, like she's not even looking at Shannon. So I don't know, it just felt like such a mean way to exclude someone and make someone feel bad, and I just hate that. Oh, and in case anyone cares, Jen shares that she just had pelvic floor surgery and her vaginal opening is now too small for intercourse. That was episode 5. Moving right along to episode 6, we get a montage of the ladies partying in New Orleans the last night. And I'm so sad. I would have loved to see more because it looked really fun. And that's like a big part of going there, right? Is to party and to feel the nightlife. The next day, Gina wants to have a stress-free, relaxed day. So she splits up the group. The plan is for Gina, Gretchen, Heather, and Jen to go to the French market, while Emily takes Tamra, Shannon, and Katie to Cafe Du Mall. However, Shannon throws a fit. She refuses to go if Katie is there. And again, it's really mean and really cruel to the point to where Katie removes herself and she actually ends up joining the other ladies at the French market. Katie says in her confessional that she does not understand how Shannon could tolerate being around Alexis, who, remember, this lady and her fiance sued Shannon for, I believe it was $75,000. They were threatening her with ring camera footage of Shannon drunkenly almost running over her ex's child. Like, seriously. And she was able to be cordial with that person, to film with that person. And Katie's like,
I can't even eat a damn beignet with you.
And I feel you, Katie. Like I said, it feels really mean. I feel so bad for her. She's really being treated like she just offed somebody. We see Gina's group at the French market. They're eating beignets. Oh, they look so good. I really want to eat a beignet. Jen shares with the group that she doesn't necessarily need to get married, but it's more so something that she wants to do for the children. And that's when Katie shows up. The ladies are all shocked and appalled when they hear that Shannon feels unsafe around Katie when she can peacefully coexist with Tamra, who has just done awful things to her for years and years and years, and who spent all last season calling her all kinds of alcoholics and drunks and what have you. I really used to like Shannon, and I've always defended her in my head because I didn't have a channel. But yeah, this season, she's just giving mean old lady all the time, like such a wet blanket. It's honestly, it's not fun to watch at all. In the other group, Emily brings up what Jen shared about Shannon telling Jen that she does not want Jen to roll on her with Tamra. And Shannon pretends to be oblivious. She does her classic hand movements, but notice she does not deny it, not in person and not even in her confessional. She just plays dumb and makes fun of the phrasing. I don't believe Shannon. She has been called out about doing behind the scenes stuff for years now. Like, for so many seasons, people have said things at the reunion that Shannon likes to tell people what to say, what not to say, who to talk to, whatever. Like, this is nothing new. So I definitely believe Shannon said that. And honestly, I don't know why she's never really been called out for that. Like, anytime she was confronted about that, it just went away. It was really strange. Anyway, Tamra does question Shannon about that, and Shannon just says that she was just generally talking about her relationship with Tamra and that everything that happened last year was just a lot for her. Tamra then agrees and she says, I understand why you feel that way. And that is partially why she doesn't drink anymore. We'll get to that. And she says that they won't ever see her drunk again. She then asks Shannon if she thinks she could just ever get over it, because she does remind her they have a 10-year friendship. But Shannon's, she's like, I just can't jump in again, which I completely agree, because that cycle with her, Tamra, and Vicky is just vicious and it's toxic in my opinion. In the other group, Jen and them are talking about the picture situation again. And Jen explains how upsetting it is to her because, remember, Tamra made it seem like Jen was obsessed with her, wanting to look like her, and called her single white female. Now, Heather lies by saying that Tamra did not call her a single white female when she was talking to her, but they roll back the footage and she indeed did. And Jen is upset because she feels like Heather is trying to dumb the whole picture thing down, which she absolutely is. And she explains that she, during that time that picture was taken, she was focused on raising her children, being there for her family. She was not focused on herself and going to the gym and all that stuff. And she says Tamra should try doing the same. I mean, yes, basically she was telling Tamra to mind her business, and she should, but that read fell a little flat to me just because Tamra's children are pretty much all grown. But then again, that son of hers, he's a piece of work. In the next scene, the ladies attend a dog parade in New Orleans, and they don't just attend, they are in the parade and they're holding these cute little signs of their own dogs. And the parade is just about raising awareness for rescue dogs and for adopting dogs. It looks really fun. They're dancing, just strutting through town with their doggy pictures. And I mean, of course, Emily has to be extra funny by saying that her dogs mean more to her than her husband and that they're her soulmates. Okay, in the next scene, the ladies visit self-proclaimed voodoo queen Mary to do some voodoo. The ladies are then given voodoo dolls to dress and to decorate and to infuse with intentions and manifest, with them. Tamra, Shannon, and Gretchen decline, like they are not having it. They don't want anything to do with it. And so they end up leaving. And I do have to say, I was surprised that Gina is not only participating in this, but that she's the one who organized this. Because remember, in one of the other seasons, she actually had to have a spiritual extraction because she was so bothered by some, I think, ceremony they did or whatever that they didn't close. I personally, I don't know if I would have participated in that either, but I do have to say, I hate the fact that voodoo is seen as something so inherently dark and evil when realistically it's just a religion that has been severely demonized. Anyway, they decorate the dolls, dress the dolls. In the end, they do a closing ceremony where Voodoo Queen Mary taps the dolls and she baptizes them. Interestingly enough, most of the ladies named the dolls after themselves. I think it's only Katie who named her doll her husband's name. Yeah. Meanwhile, while this is all going on, Tamra, Shannon, and Gretchen are just waiting. They're sitting on a bench, they're talking, and Tamra makes this stupid joke about how the ladies are probably making voodoo dolls of them. And then in her confessional, she says that Jen, is probably making her voodoo doll look like Tamra and using her extensions and doing fitness video. And honestly, Tamra is just irritating me. She needs to move on because she does not own the concept of fitness. She did not invent fitness videos. Get over it. Anyway, Shannon asks Gretchen how it went with Katie, and Gretchen shares that Katie told her that Shannon called her criminal and doesn't want to be around her. Shannon then lies and says she did not call her criminal. I mean, yes, but that's semantics. She didn't say you're a criminal. She said you committed a crime or something like that, which is the same thing. Then we get this flashback of Heather really laying into Katie. She is screaming at that poor lady. And there's some real rage behind that. And I just do not understand why. Why is she treating Katie so differently than Alexis? Alexis and John were actually threatening Shannon with those videos. They had video footage of Shannon driving drunk and almost running over a child. And they threatened her with that to extort her for $75,000. But for some reason, she was able to be cordial and coexist with Alexis. But she just eviscerates Katie any chance she gets. And mind you, all Katie did with that video or voice note or whatever it was is send it to her husband and possibly use it for Housewives gossip. So it's not making sense to me. Shannon insists that Katie broke the law when she recorded her without her knowledge. Now, I don't know if this is even true or not because I know that there are some states that have one party consent, so it may not have even been illegal. Gretchen defends Katie and she says that Katie has never done anything to her. Shannon, though, she cannot let it go. And when I tell you, she set herself up for this one. She goes,
"Yeah, but do you want to be friends with people who commit illegal acts, Gretchen?"
And Gretchen is like, "Shannon, no, but you have a DUI and that's illegal too." Shannon, this lady is gagged, speechless. She has nothing to say. It was amazing. I loved it. Even Tamra is defending Katie at this point and telling Shannon that she would probably give her another chance just to see if she would mess up again. Now, Shannon has found her voice again, after being gagged. And she reminds Tamra of that story that Katie allegedly tried to give to Kiki Monique, remember, the blogger. Tamra then takes the opportunity to bring out the nature of this story, and we, the viewers, finally find out what it's about. But apparently, Tamra was told by sources in the press that Katie told Kiki Monique about Gretchen confiding in her that she believed Tamra tried to DRUG her the night of Naked Wasted. Gretchen is shocked, admittedly. However, it didn't seem to me like this information or this story was news to her. It more so seemed like she was shocked that Katie actually told someone about that and that Tamra knows. And that this is now on camera. Like, she's really upset, like she's crying. Shannon, however, rejoices. She's super excited to have another comrade recruited for her war against Katie. It's honestly quite gross. In the confessional, Tamra explains the whole Naked Wasted situation. She does leave out her son, however, which to me is a big oversight, intentional probably. Like I said, I started watching the OC in the 8th or 9th season, so I did not see the Naked Wasted episode. I also didn't feel like going back and watching that because the whole thing just disgusts me to no end. Like, I don't want to subject myself to that. But anyway, Tamra says basically all they did, her and Vicky, was to try to get Gretchen drunk. Anyway, Gretchen now vehemently denies ever having said anything like that to Katie, and she argues that if she did feel that way or had felt that way, she would have brought it out long ago. Because remember, her and Tamra have been feuding for a long time. Gretchen says that she feels very overwhelmed by this news. She does want to consider her source, however, and she tells Tamra that she doesn't believe her, to which Tamra then says that she had not only one but two people in the media tell her that. And Tamra also claims that she really wants to apologize to Gretchen and sit down and have a talk with her because she feels like they both have changed and things are very different now. Like I said, Gretchen is like crying now about how she can't go through this again. She can't be involved in this stuff again. And Shannon and Tamra console her. In the next scene, the group is on the way to dinner. Tamra catches the rest of the ladies up about the story now. Meanwhile, Gretchen shares this new information with Jen, and she actually ends up confronting Katie about it. Apparently, their husbands, Gretchen's and Katie's husbands, have already talked about this, and Katie comes in the room like shocked. She's like, what's going on? When Gretchen confronts her, Katie denies, like she immediately denies ever having said that. And she feels like this is a scheme that Todd has set up to make her look like a bad person. Gretchen is now starting to doubt Tamra's story because of their history, and she wants to believe her friend. So they go to dinner, and as soon as they sit down, Tamra does her signature move, which is pulling someone away from the table to talk to them privately to get ahead of whatever's going on and any potential fallout. Usually it's the bathroom. And I have to say that is so annoying to me. That was like such a new thing when I started watching the OC, and anytime it's like Tamra has this sixth sense, like she has this built-in antenna. Anytime she's about to be caught up in something that she did or said, she pulls the person to the bathroom and like gets ahead of it. And honestly, it's a gift almost. Like, she executes well, I have to say. Yeah, but she pulls Gretchen away from the table. She asks her if Gretchen wants her to bring up the whole situation or if she'd rather her not say anything. She also asks Gretchen whether she believes Katie or not. Katie then, because obviously she knows they're talking about her, she walks to where Tamra and Gretchen are talking, and she immediately denies ever having said that. And it's odd the way she phrased it. She says, I never talked to her about it. That to me seems like there is an it. Like, she's not saying that she never heard Gretchen tell her that. She's not saying that she didn't know Gretchen felt like Tamra, drugged her. But she's just saying, I didn't talk to Kiki Monique about it, Tamra then reiterates that two people in the press informed her about this story. Katie obviously wants to know who those two people are. Tamra says they don't want to be named. How convenient. And Katie just repeats that it's not true. Tamra then gets very upset that Gretchen is choosing to believe Katie over her. She storms off and starts screaming her head off. Meanwhile, Shannon as well is really upset that Tamra isn't being believed over Katie. Like, hello, are you serious? Like, have you forgotten who Tamra is and what she's done. And Shannon is, like I said, she's upset to the point to where she actually accosts Katie as she's walking back to the table. Like, she starts sarcastically clapping at her and congratulating her on someone believing her. And it's just very nasty. Again, Shannon. Katie responds by telling Shannon that she's not involved in this, to which Shannon counters that she's hurt everyone in the group, which, mind you, Tamra has done as well. Katie then says that she has owned up to any hurts she's caused and has actually apologized. Shannon will not let it go. She asks who would even want to be around someone who's hurt everyone at the table. Meanwhile, Tamra is sitting next to Katie looking dumb as hell. Katie once again denies saying anything to Kiki Monique. Shannon is screaming at her like a crazy person. Like, even the server is uncomfortable. Shannon is actually yelling at Katie to the point where her voice is breaking. And she just looks like a witch. She looks like a wicked old witch yelling at this woman who's just sitting there taking it. Even Heather is cringing at her behavior. When I tell you, I feel so bad for Katie. She's a lot stronger than me. Whether I was right or wrong, I would probably just start crying. Even if only out of frustration, and I would leave and I would never come back. Anyway, Shannon continues laying into Katie and tells her that she's known as the leak. Gretchen asks for proof and tells everyone that she's not just going to believe Tamra, who has caused her so much harm, over her friend who has been nothing but kind to her and who's never done anything to her. Heather and Gina appear to understand that. Like, they seem very sympathetic. And I have to say, Gina is actually making sense in her confessionals. I'm really loving Gina this episode. This is when my girl Jen jumps in and she brings it back to the real issue at hand. What about the picture? Like, what is the intent of showing this alleged former fatty photo of her? And she also makes it known that everyone at this table has been hurt by Tamra as well. Tamra just sits there staring at Jen. Honestly, at this point, she already seems very out of it. Like, her speech is so slowed and she just kind of is mumbling, saying that she doesn't care about that, she doesn't want to talk about that, and she only did that to retaliate. Then Tamra throws out there that Jen reached out as a fan to her back in the day. I think she said 2013. Jen is completely thrown off. She's like, what are you even saying? Like, stay on track. You're not making sense. Are you on something? And when I tell you, the bewilderment in Jen's face was just, it was priceless. It was just everything. Jen once again asks Tamra what the issue is between them, and Tamra just keeps repeating what Jen says. Jen's like,
what's the issue?
And Tamra's like, what is the issue? And Jen's like,
I'm asking you.
And Tamra's like, yeah, what is it? Like, it's like Jen, like, she cannot believe this is happening. She's looking back and forth like what is going on? That was the best part of the episode, honestly. And this is so meme worthy, might I tell you. Tamra finally gives a somewhat coherent answer and tells Jen that she feels like it's been a tit for tat. And then when Gretchen asks who started it, she snaps at Gretchen and tells her it's none of her effing business. Jen is sitting there leaned back like, oh, it only took a little time for the real Tamra to come back out. Even Heather agrees that there's a nicer way to say that. Then Tamra insists that Gretchen doesn't know anything, only what Jen told her. And there you have poor Katie. All she asks is what? And Tamra rips her head off and tells her to F off. Katie's like, I won't. This is when Gina steps in and Gina tells Tamra that she's being rude and she's sloshed. When I tell you this, I was actually living for Gina. Like, girl, you get her together. And just the word sloshed, I don't know. Like, I thought it was hilarious. And she was sloshed. I don't even know what that means, but she was sloshed. Tamra then wants to tell Gina not to be rude, but Gina's like, girl, you're being rude and this is my table and I don't appreciate that. And actually, she's lecturing Tamra like the child she is. I was living for it. We also get another hilarious confessional from Gina. It's amazing. And Gina finally lets Tamra know that it is not fun to be in the middle of her BS all the time. Even Jen feels bad at this point though. She agrees to table the issue for tonight because she can tell, and she says this to Tamra, that she's not in her right mind. And then it's really awkward, very awkward silence. The ladies try to lighten the mood by talking about the food. I think it was in her confessional, I don't remember, but Shannon mentions Tamra coming to her room before dinner with something that didn't look like water in a water glass. And anyway, Tamra ends up leaving the table without saying a single word. And as soon as she leaves, everyone starts talking about her immediately. Emily says she's totally out of it. Gretchen says that Tamra was behaving like a total psycho and that she doesn't want to engage with Tamra when she gets like that. Jen states, and she's so right about this, that if Shannon had acted like that, Tamra would have called her all kinds of drunks and alcoholics. Heather gets up to follow Tamra, and Emily says that she would have taken Tamra home. And that probably would be for the best, because Heather is like standing in the hallway with Tamra. She's trying to calm her down. She's trying to be there for her, to console her. But Tamra is just yelling in her face, like just treating her like total crap. And she's screaming at her that she doesn't give an F. It literally looks like Heather is talking to a deranged person. Then Tamra brings up Gretchen contacting her daughter again and calling her husband gay. I thought that wasn't Gretchen though. I thought that was that Jen? I don't know, but whatever. She's bringing that up. And when they hear her at the table, because that's how loud she's screaming, Gretchen is like,
she's lost her mind. She's losing it.
And Tamra ends up storming away from Heather, and she just keeps saying over and over, you can have her, you can have her, you can have her. Gretchen believes that what happened was Tamra took a Xanax, or possibly more, even though I said that, not Gina, and started drinking. And then that's what's going on here. Tamra then literally quits the show. She texts Gina to F off. She also texts Heather that Gina has crossed the line. Girl, like when I tell you, Tamra is so delusional. I mean, she is under the influence in that situation, but she's just always delusional. Tamra also posts on Instagram that she's leaving the show. The ladies are seeing this in real time. They're really shocked. And so was I when I saw that back then. And I thought something like super major had gone on. I would never have thought that all it took for Tamra to leave the show was for Gina to get her together one time. Amazing. Jen correctly figures that Tamra was trying to make up with Gretchen by throwing Katie under the bus, thereby distracting from her own terrible behavior. That was episode 6. Let's move on with the last episode, episode 7. We can do this, you guys. Anyway, it's the aftermath of the dinner from hell. They're all talking about Tamra's exit. And Gina says that Tamra just does this thing to where she drinks and gets nasty. And she doesn't feel that Tamra can just, treat people the way she does just because she's going through something. And I have to completely agree with her. Heather says that she's never seen Tamra like this and is worried about her. Honestly, Heather, you've never seen Tamra like this. Okay, girl. Gina tells the ladies that she feels like someone who's genuinely concerned with their mental health wouldn't be worried about posting on Instagram. And I think I agree with that, even though, of course, every crisis looks different for and on every person. So I guess you can't say that as a general rule, but it is strange in this situation. Gina also brings up that she contacted the journalist about the whole Kiki Monique story, and she said the journalist confirmed everything that Tamra said to be true. So she's saying Katie did in fact lie, but what I'm saying is I guess Katie's not the only one who talks to bloggers and who has relationships with bloggers. Because you see, Gina could call that person up real quick and ask him about a story. So that's just really hypocritical. Meanwhile, Shannon is doing this new thing where she films with completely disheveled hair, all of her tracks and extensions showing. I have no idea why she's doing that, if she thinks that's kooky or quirky. It's just weird. Like, please stop, Shannon. Anyway, they're on their way to the boat. Shannon is running late, and Shannon calls Gina. We do not hear what she's saying, but the subtitles say that she's incoherently sobbing. And we hear that she says she's just trying to get there. And Gina's like, again, it sounds like she's talking to a crazy person. She's like, okay, Shannon, yeah, just get there. Like, girl, what is wrong with you, Shannon? Like, I just find that so bizarre. Like, she could have just texted Gina, let her know, I'm gonna be late. Go ahead. Like, that is just unnecessary. Shannon does end up being late. In fact, she's sitting in the car applying her lashes. And at the end, she's 20 minutes late. They're about to go on the alligator safari. And since Shannon was late, she sits down and she apologizes, especially to Gina, because she organized everything. And then Gina is having this mini meltdown about all the things. Like, she's just freaking out. I don't know. I mean, I guess Gina is afraid of murky waters, of deep waters, of things in the water. So she's really challenging herself with this alligator thing. And I guess Shannon being late just kind of set her off. But it was a little mean, because Shannon was apologizing for being late. But, you know, Gina was basically yelling at her that it's not about Shannon. But also she was really upset and angry with Shannon. So I don't know. It was crazy. And they were just trying to out anxiety each other. Because then Shannon's like, oh, I had an anxiety attack and I couldn't breathe and I was crying. And I'm like, wow, this is too much. Like, can we just have one normal vacation activity where people are just in a good mood and having fun? Like, just shut up. Anyway, they do end up seeing some alligators, and the tour guide tells them that all alligator males are deadbeat fathers, while the females guard the nest and their children with their lives. After the activity, they go out to dinner. They're again having more New Orleans specialties. One of them is the fried oysters. They try those and apparently they're really good. I have never had an oyster before. I kind of want to try one, but then I'm like, aren't they alive? Like, I heard that they're still alive while you eat them, and that just grosses me out, the thought of just eating something that's living. I don't want to do it, but I kind of do want to do it. So let me know if you've ever tried an oyster, how it tastes. Anyway, they sit down at the table and Gina catches everyone up and she tells Katie that she called the journalist to confirm Tamra's story. And what the journalist told her was that Katie and Kiki Monique met up for lunch. Katie told Kiki that Gretchen had told her that the night of Naked Wasted, Gretchen suspected that she had been roofied and went to the hospital that night. Katie denies that happening again. Gretchen then throws in there that she's confused about how reputable, because Gina kept saying,
a reputable journalist, a reputable journalist.
And Gretchen's like, how reputable can this person be if they never even reached out to confirm with me if this actually happened or not? Then Gina's like, well, they knew immediately that it was a lie and made up, so they were never going to publish, so that's why they didn't feel a need to contact Gretchen. But then Gretchen is like, well, if it's all a lie and everyone knows it's made up and a lie, why are we talking about it? Now, Gina's confused because she's like, well, I kind of thought you'd want to know if your friend was sitting at lunch telling people this stuff about you. Gretchen responds to this that Katie has told her that she didn't do it and no one has shown her any other proof that that has happened, in fact. I think Shannon or someone, I think it was Shannon, suggests that Katie should just call Kiki Monique then and there and possibly give her a heads up before, you know, because of the cameras. And Jen is in her confessional saying that she would immediately call Kiki to, you know, confront her, and she doesn't understand why her friend is not doing that. Sheena asks Katie to think back if she ever told Kiki anything like that. This is when Katie is getting more and more annoyed, and she looks right at Gretchen and tells her, you told us the whole story at Mastro's. So this is Katie's version. Katie and Matt, Jen and Ryan, and Gretchen and Slade went out to dinner. This is when Jen immediately jumps in and she said, oh yeah, and Gretchen told us that she was so sick from drinks that night. That she was feeling so bad. Like, maybe that got interpreted to mean something more. Jen also claims that Gretchen has never said a word about her being roofied by Tamra. Katie, however, reveals that Gretchen and Slade told them that the night of Naked Wasted, Jen felt so sick that she literally had to go to the hospital the next morning, that they did a toxicology report on her, and that they did indeed find drugs in her system. Mind you, Katie only says this so coherently and clearly in her confessional. She doesn't, I believe, say it like that at the table. She more so lets Jen talk, who's, you know, denying what Katie's saying. Back at the table, Gretchen says that she feels like the group doesn't want her to like Katie, to which Gina says that all the time Gretchen came to her about Tamra and she was listening and she was open to her, but whenever Gina brings up Katie to Gretchen, Gretchen doesn't want to hear anything about it, and she says that that behavior does make her wonder if Gretchen actually did say something to Katie. Gretchen gets defensive. She says that she just wants to believe her friend, to which Emily says that she is blindly defending Katie. I'm like, girl, shut up. You and Gina defend each other blindly, and Tamra, all the time. Like, that is so hypocritical. Gretchen is then like really upset, and she says that Katie has never done anything to her, while Tamra has hurt every single person at this table, and she actually slams her hand into the table. And that's how that ends. The next scene is another Tamra therapy scene. She does some more crying without tears, which we're used to. And when she recounts the events of that night, what she's doing is she's completely leaving out her part and just saying that they were just all screaming at her and coming at her for no reason. In the confessional, she explains that night before dinner, she had gotten really upset because she called up her friend who, has the illness, and she didn't answer her. Side note, the voicemail of the friend said, "Do not leave a message, please." What does Tamra do? She leaves a message. But whatever, maybe that rule doesn't apply to Tamra. Anyway, she says she was upset because she couldn't reach her. Then she was also anxious about dinner, so she took half a Xanax. And she says she doesn't remember anything after that. Tamra then completely lies to her therapist by telling her that no one cared, no one was concerned about her, no one, called out to her, no one texted her. That is not true. Like, Heather literally left the table to be there for Tamra. Anyway, Tamra also, the therapist also tells Tamra that she has a very wounded heart from all her trauma. And Tamra brings up her father leaving her, and she equates that to her daughter leaving her, which is so messed up and so toxic. Like, girl, your daughter did not leave you. She was taking care of herself because your relationship with her and the way you were treating her by continually talking about her on national TV was toxic to her. So she had to protect herself. That doesn't mean she did something to you or abandoned you. Like, please. In the next scene, we see Emily and Shane at home. They're talking about their son, Luke. Remember, the one who is supposed to have an eating disorder and who Emily and the therapist believe may or may not have autism as well. And I don't want to get too deep into this because, like I said, I don't want to talk about children necessarily. I also don't agree with all of his issues, his medical information, all that stuff being out like for the world forever. That being said, to me, it does feel like Emily is making this a way bigger thing. Like, she is just over exaggerating so much. I think she's doing it for a storyline. And she's just dragging this whole situation. Like, they haven't even done testing. Like, it's not even finished. And she keeps calling him, like, autistic. And then she also keeps saying he doesn't eat anything. But we do see him eat some things. And I don't know, like, I have no idea. I would never judge anyone as a mother, but I don't know what she's offering him to eat. But we do see him eat some things. And like I said, it just feels like she's blowing everything up to be so much bigger than it really is. And the reason I say that, or I feel comfortable saying it, is because Shane is saying the same thing. He's like, if it were up to him, he wouldn't even be immediately, bringing all these specialists in. He would more so try to work with the son and try to go at his pace. Now, I'm not saying Emily is right or wrong for bringing in specialists right away, but Shane seems like he also feels like Emily's blowing things out of proportion. And he's literally telling her, listen, the things that you are bringing up that Luke has done or said are isolated incidents. Like, they're not the rule. And he also feels like a lot of the behavior is just because he wants mommy's attention. But Emily leaves no room whatsoever for that. She's so focused on this child being just sick and like disordered, and it's all on her. Like, she starts crying this ugly, snotty, full of saliva cry, has her head down on the kitchen island. And Shane is not having it. He's just like, well, you're difficult to deal with sometimes. How about that? And I have to agree. Like I said, the only reason I feel comfortable even suggesting that she is overdoing it and over dramatizing it is because Shane seems to feel the same way. Like I said, I just feel like your child should not be your storyline. Yeah, Shane is very frustrated because he feels like all Emily wants to do is wallow in like self-pity and just magnify these problems to be way more serious and bigger rather than actually solve the problems. And he's also irritated and offended that Emily keeps saying it's all on her and he doesn't understand, which is why he dragged her. In the next scene, Tamra and Heather go to lunch, and Tamra shares with Heather that when she pressed Gretchen about whether or not she had told Katie anything resembling the fact that she had to go to the hospital, Gretchen actually admitted that she did go to the hospital the next morning because she felt so sick. Meanwhile, Gretchen is in the confessional lying. She's lying to production, saying that she never went to the hospital, even though it's on camera. Tamra then whines and does some more self-pity. She complains that no one was there for her, no one reached out to her, no one checked on her. Heather, however, sets the record straight, and she says that she does call her. They even spoke on FaceTime when Tamra hung up on her, and she also texted her a bunch of times, but Tamra never responded. Heather also shares with Tamra that she was upset because Tamra was already going on all these podcasts and social media talking about the situation, but just ignored Heather. And she says Tamra threw her away, like she was not important to Tamra. When confronted with the truth, Tamra immediately goes back to her favorite shtick of playing the victim. She brings up her therapy, her daughter leaving her, she brings up her friend's disease, and she just uses going through a lot as a justification for her evil, nasty behavior. Now, in her confessional, Heather immediately sees through this tactic and she calls it out. But in person with Tamra, she relents and she consoles her. She's, apologetic. And then they laugh about how hot the server is. And like I said, I just believe Heather is really afraid of Tamra. That's all I can think of why she just submits to her like she does. Next, we see Katie and her husband Matt in their home. Katie catches him up about everything that went on that night. Matt apparently spoke to Gretchen's husband, and he sets the record straight that Katie did not make it up. Katie, for her part, feels like she was thrown under the bus, and she feels like Gretchen unmistakably told her that she indeed was drugged by Tamra the night of Naked Wasted. She in fact says it was clear as day and there was no misunderstanding possible. Katie also goes on to say that she was very disappointed in Jen for sticking up for Gretchen, and Matt goes on to question Katie for not calling out the liars and telling them to shut up, basically. But Katie said it was really hard to do with everyone being against you and coming at you. And like I said, I completely understand that. Katie also does not understand why she's the one being blamed when the people who are spreading this story, this apparently made up story, are Gretchen and Slade. And in the confessional, she admits that Gretchen's husband, Slade, called Matt, who's Katie's husband, to tell Katie to hold the line and protect Gretchen, and to basically lie and to say that Gretchen never told her that. Interestingly enough, Katie also points out that her and Matt have never hung out with only Gretchen and Slade, but that Jen and Ryan have always been there as well. So she's not the only person who heard this. Jen and Ryan both fully know the truth, and she does not understand why she's the one in the hot seat and actually feels like a pawn. And what Katie believes is happening is that Gretchen embellished, she got caught up in a lie of embellishment, and now she's trying to get out of it and throw Katie under the bus. And Katie is exhausted by trying to cover this up. This scene was very helpful because it brought some type of order to the chaos. And like I said, I do get it that when a whole table of people is coming at you, they're all against you, no one's listening to you, no one cares what you have to say, that is really hard to stand up for yourself and to speak. But honestly, I'm sorry, Katie, that's Housewives. And if you play the Housewives game to the point to where you're talking to bloggers and doing all this stuff, you have to also be able to stand in it and speak your truth. And you have to make yourself heard. It's really great that she gave us this clarity with her husband. But this conversation, this explanation, and these facts need to be heard by the group. Like, she needs to tell the ladies all of this. Like, it doesn't help us that she's telling her husband this, who's on her side anyway, because he's her husband. Like, you need to get the girls together and let them know, what's tea. Meanwhile, Jen, Emily, and Gretchen meet up at the bar, and like Katie feared, Jen and Gretchen are indeed throwing Katie under the bus, and Gretchen is questioning Katie for not calling up Kiki Monique immediately, and for saying that if she were to call up Kiki, she would just lie to get out of it. I don't know why that makes you question Katie, because that's common sense. No one's gonna admit that they're a liar and made up and are clout chasing, especially on camera. Gretchen also goes on to say that she's now feeling uneasy, is starting to doubt her friend's story, and she feels like she needs to call up Kiki and get the truth for herself. And she says that she would be so disappointed if Katie indeed said that and is making up stories. In the confessional, Jen says that she just wants to play devil's advocate. And even if Gretchen did tell Katie this, she doesn't understand why Katie would tell a blogger about this. And while that may be true, and I agree, it does make me now think that Katie's telling the truth. And Jen actually was there, and Gretchen actually did tell her that. That was the end of the last episode, episode 7. Now, I want to leave you guys with some thoughts because I feel it has been so chaotic and unorganized. So first of all, we're dealing with a bunch of liars. Gretchen was caught lying about going to the hospital, which I take to mean that she was probably also lying about Tamra drugging her in the first place, or about feeling like she did. Probably she was lying for attention, as well as in order to get both Jen and Katie on her side more firmly. Katie, her behavior seems like she's lying about having told Kiki Monique this story. And if it's true what Katie is saying, Jen is lying about, having never heard this story, and about Gretchen never saying that. So they're all liars. In fact, the only person who doesn't seem to be lying for once is Tamra. And how does that happen? Also, they are treating Katie like she killed someone, when the only problem she really has is loose lips sink ships. All Katie has to do is stop running her mouth to bloggers and she will be fine. But then again, they all do that. Like, literally across all franchises, they all have relationships to journalists and bloggers, and they all use them to their advantage when they feel like it. And both Tamra as well as Gina, and I believe Heather, have confirmed that they have these relationships with bloggers as well. Because guess what? Tamra got the information about the story from 2 people in the press. Gina, clarified the story by talking to a person in the press. So it's not just Katie. Let's be real here. This is a thing that housewives do all the time. Anyway, my problem with this season is that there are no authentic storylines. There is nothing going on. The entire season is just so meta. Honestly, at this point, it should be called the Bloggers of Orange County. The only somewhat organic drama is Jen versus Tamra and whatever weak storylines Emily and Gina have going on. And so far, it's just tiring. It's lame. Like, I'm over it. Like, it's a chore to even watch this season. Like, I just can't believe we are spending 7 episodes, chastising, ridiculing, and like stoning someone for talking to bloggers. Like, are we serious? And that's all they have to say this entire season. There's nothing else going on aside Katie talking to bloggers, and it's not even happening during the season. It happened off season. So like, it's completely like nothing is there. Anyway, I don't want to get too upset. That was it. And before I forget, I always forget this, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Please, you guys, I would appreciate it so much. And I will keep reviewing no matter how long it takes me. And I love you guys. I appreciate you. And yeah, have a blessed day. I hope to see you on our next vacation. I cannot wait. And until then, bye.